Hello everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Dan, DP, D to the Queen Z, and I'm here yet again with another of our HW UK indie show previews. Of course, the shows that we put on YouTube, that is, the videos, sorry, that we put on YouTube to go over any upcoming shows that are in the nearby future. So we're going through this one today, which will be on the Friday the 14th. So this coming Friday, as of when we're recording. Um, it's part of the Wrestival series that I covered last time when it was on back in September time last year. Um, but this time we're previewing one, and we're previewing uh the Head Drop show. The Head Drop proudly presents live wrestling in the Pleasance Theatre down in Islington, London. Uh, and of course, it wouldn't be a HW preview show without someone to preview with. So joining me is the man himself, the brains behind the show. I'm joined by Rob. Hello, Rob.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really pleased to be here.
Thank you for coming on. I mean, it's just great to be able to speak to someone who's behind the making of and the booking behind these shows.
Yeah, it's Restival's been a really fun experience. Like you said, we had one back in September, and what like at the time when that was like pitched to me, I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to look. But like doing the first one, it was so much fun, and like the Pleasance is a great venue, and it's such a good mix of different shows. So I'm just happy to be back for part two.
Yeah, fantastic. Like I say, there's a whole mix of everything between professional wrestling, mixed in with cabaret, mixed in with a celebration of life, and just it's just like a big coming together of just everything to do with the arts and crafts and to do with the as I say the cabaret side of things as well with theatre and
Yeah, it's gonna be like it very much embraces like wrestling as theater, and just taking different, I guess, different promoters coming at it from different angles, and trying to, like, I guess, expose wrestling to a different audience to a degree as well. I've gone to the presence a lot as like a to watch comedy and theater stuff like that. So it's cool to be there, and yeah, just hopefully as well as wrestling fans expose wrestling to a different audience as well.
yeah, precisely. I couldn't put it better myself really. Um, so without any further ado, let's start breaking down the card itself. Uh, And by breaking down, I mean just basically me introducing it and then going over a bit of the history, or you can go over a bit of the history that these two might have, or the reasons behind why it was booked, or whatever you see
Sure, yeah.
fitting, really. So, the first one I've got here on my little list is a match between the wrestling engineer, Ronnie Knox, taking on Livy Grace.
Yeah, I thought that was. I believe they've had one match elsewhere before, which I can't remember for what company now, but I remember seeing it and really enjoying it. And then yeah, it just seemed like a logical pairing. They're two people that I'm like very high on. I've used them on my shows before, and I just thought they'd match up very well. Livy had a big win, like quite a dominating win against Laura Di Matteo on the last Head Drop show at Pleasance. And I thought Ronnie Knox is a similar style wrestler, and I just thought they would complement each other really well.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, exactly as you say, really. Uh, two uh, different kinds of styles, but two that will blend really well when they meet in that square circle.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a very much like a powerhouse versus underdog kind of story. I think both of them are quite underrated in terms of their representation on the scene. I just think, like I said, I'm a big fan of both of them, and I'd like to see them about more and more. Yeah, I think they're both big talents.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more, really. Um, so yeah, I mean that's the first match that we have on the card. Okay, so we move on to the next one I have here, which is when it wants to load. There we go. It is the Italian superstar striker, as you mentioned before, Laura Di Matteo, taking on the feisty flame of Ireland, Amira.
Yeah, these two I don't believe have wrestled each other before. Although if you watch Pro Wrestling Eve, they had a multiverse battle royal a few months ago, and
Yeah,
Amira came out as sexy Laura Di Matteo, so they have a little bit of history going back there. Um, I thought again, it's very like Laura's a very like serious kind of technician, and Amira's like quite big. Like her persona is like a loudmouth, arrogant kind of hothead character. I thought they would like tempers might flare in that kind of match. It'll be interesting to see. I don't actually believe either of them have. No, Laura will have done on the last show, but I don't believe Amira's wrestled a rounds match before. So that'll be fun to see her in that kind of environment. I quite like these shows. In the like one of the things I like about them is that not a lot of places run rounds matches anymore, and if they do, it'll be the main event or like one of the biggest matches on the card, and it doesn't give a lot of different people a chance to work the kind of style or at least the format of match that would have been just completely commonplace in the 70s and 80s. So it's nice to be able to put people who might not even be familiar with that kind of scene at all into that environment and see how well they do. I think it'll be really fun. Like I said, I'm a big fan. Obviously, I'm booking them. I'm a big fan of both of them. I'm. It's good to see. Like it'll be good to see Amira. I don't get the chance to work on shows with her a lot. So yeah, personally, it'll be great to work with her, and always fun to work with Laura. She's been on a lot of head drop shows in the past.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. When I first saw this match announced on Twitter, I was like, "This is going to be an absolute amazing match," and in the round style as well. It's as you say, it's completely it's a different thing from what you normally see as well on the scene. And again, as you say, people aren't necessarily going to book uh the round much other than like in a certain like a high stakes scenario or the main event or something like that. Uh, so it does limit the opportunities that are given to some people. But yeah,
Exactly, yeah, and I mean, it's very rare that someone, if they were booking a rounds match at all, would probably book it for a women's match. Like, there's generally on a lot of shows, there's generally only maybe one, maybe two out of six, seven, eight matches that are women's matches. So it's unlikely they'd be given like a gimmick like that as well.
yeah, absolutely. Um, but yeah, onto that same note, actually, it's interesting to have the British rounds be featured so commonly as well on these shows because it's not in a case where it's just one or two matches. It's more or less the entire card that is in that format. Like, maybe like I think one match this time around that isn't in that format, but
The tag team match isn't a rounds match. All the singles matches are sort of like I said in the tradition of wrestling from the 70s and 80s. I don't believe the tag matches back then often were under the rounds format. Sometimes they were 2 out of 3 falls, but for time constraints, the show's an hour and a half, so for time constraints will and I guess as well, like I said earlier, a lot of people in the crowd may not have watched wrestling before just because of the venue and that sort of thing. So like to keep things as simple as possible. There'll be a little video, and I believe we've put one out online already, sort of explaining the rules, and also the MC will go over everything as well because we don't want to take for granted that everyone knows how it works. But yeah, I really like the British style of wrestling, like the traditional British style of wrestling. When I first started like helping out on shows, there was still a lot of representation from the older British wrestlers who would have wrestled in the 70s and 80s. So I was lucky enough to work on shows with Johnny Saint, Johnny Kidd, Fit Finlay, Kendo Nagasaki, Steve Gray, people like that. So
wow,
it's just it. I think it's a style. and a format of match that's sort of underrepresented now. And I think Premier Promotions still runs occasionally on the South Coast, and they do the round stuff as well, because I believe they've been running since the 80s or 70s themselves. But yeah, it's just my little, I guess, give back in some way to and tribute to that kind of scene time in wrestling.
Yeah, precisely. And I presume that's part of the reason as to why your posters for the shows are also in that style of the, the olden
Yeah,
era of wrestling.
absolutely. But yeah, I wanted it to stand out from, like, because there's plenty of great and plenty of bad wrestling posters now, and I just wanted it to stand out again. There's a lot of shows these days which are just like, here's some wrestling, and that's great, and there's a lot of wrestling fans who like that. uh I just wanted, especially for this, I believe I was asked to to put on a show at Wrestival, because there is a slightly different angle to it other than like just a wrestling show. I'm looking at it, the other show that is probably at Wrestival, it's probably most closely to a straight wrestling show, is Everything Pattern, which is on the same day as Head Drop. That's
Yeah,
at 7 o'clock. And again, that's coming from a show full of like POC wrestlers, on a scene which generally, again, promotes, maybe like we'll have like maybe one person of color on a show, maybe two. So yeah, that's it's good to have, even if there are like sort of straight wrestling shows on the lineup, but they're coming at it from a different angle and a different perspective.
absolutely. Moving on to the third match we have here. We might as well go into this one because this is the one that we briefly touched on. The tag team match that's not in the British Rounds format. Uh, we have these two teams. Two teams you could say were very what's the word? Odd pairing, but we're interested to see how they work together. So we have Warren Banks teaming up with Jordan Breaks as they take on two people who actually fought at the last head drop show. Uh, Mike Bird and Jerry Bakewell.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this match. It is because, like I've said before, about I'm a big fan of 70s and 80s style of British wrestling. That's why a lot of the matches are in the rounds format. I think a lot of people think that because a match is in a rounds format, that it is one thing and it's very technical, it might be very slow. But like, if you look at the matches that are under the rounds format on this card, it really is just a vehicle to tell a story. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be certain holds, certain styles, or whatever. But
Mm.
this match, very much, I do look at it as being that kind of throwback 70s, 80s kind of like heavyweight, technical, but also like brawling style. It's like two people, like you said, Mike Bird and Jerry Bakewell wrestled each other on the last show, and had a really, really good match, which is on YouTube if anyone wants to check that out. I really liked that and how that went. Um, and I know in the past, both, this was when I've run head drop shows when they were in the Resgal, speaking to Jerry and Jordan Breaks separately. I know they both wanted to wrestle each other at some point. And I'm a huge fan of Warren Banks. Warren had a match with Mike Bird at Pro Wrestling Ambush show, probably maybe about a year ago so now, which I absolutely loved. And this tag match is basically a way to get them together as well. I think there's just four of the best wrestlers in the country, all all with similarly complementary styles. Like some of like there's certain of like Warren Banks is different, say, to Jerry Bakewell, but they have still, I would say, innate qualities that complement each other in style.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes a lot.
yeah, absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I only attended the last head drop show, and I'm planning to attend this one as well on the Friday. I wasn't aware that there'd been three other shows produced by yourself. Um,
Yes.
and I believe going through those, just briefly, albeit, but has Jerry Bakewell been on every head drop show?
He has. Let me think. Yeah, he's been on every show. It was also on Progress Chapter 100, the opening match, which is Jerry Bakewell and Mercedes Blaze
Yeah,
against Cassius and Ronnie Knox. That was supposed to be the pre-show, which was like a Head Drop presents the Progress pre-show.
yeah,
But because I think Tony Storm maybe was injured and one or two other people that got bumped to the main show, but that was like another sort of head drop thing that he was a part of as well. Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Again, it's someone, a lot of these shows as well are me picking people who I would like to see more of on the scene and
yeah,
going, here's a good match for you, and let's see if anything comes of that. Like Jerry, I've known for a long time. I think he's a very good wrestler. I think he's like an underrated technical wrestler. I think a lot of the time when he does when he is on shows, he's often in like a comedy role, which he does very well. Like he's a
yeah.
he's an actual stand-up comedian outside of wrestling as well. But he's got great technical wrestling chops as well. So big fan. As much as possible, he will always be on head drop shows. If he's available, I'm gonna have him.
Yeah, absolutely fair. It just caught me off guard when I saw that his name was on all of them, and I was like, really? And then I was like, hey, is anyone else who's like that? I was like, no, I don't think there is. I think he's the only one. It's just quite impressive.
There, there's definitely people. I think had it not been for injury, then Kanji would have been on every show as well. I think as
Mhm.
it stands, she's probably only been on two, but I think she has at some point. I think she may have been booked on every show at some point, including the one coming up, and unfortunately has had to like just had a bad history of injuries.
Yeah,
But hopefully we'll have it because she had an amazing match with Michael Oku on the last head drop show.
good do, yeah.
And so hopefully she'll be back, like in whatever form a future head drop show takes. It would be great to have her back on again because I think she's brilliant.
Yeah, she really is.
And yeah, she's had yeah, Michael Oku on the last show and on the very first show wrestled Nina Samuels, and both were really good matches. Both again, they're on YouTube to watch as well if anyone wants to check them out.
Yeah, and I'll absolutely put the links in the description below as well. So they're easy to get to as well if you can't find them necessarily straight away.
Thank you.
We move on now to the last match that's been announced. Not necessarily the main event, but the last match that I have on my list here, which is there we go. So again, someone that we've also mentioned just a few moments ago, Cassius, the Neon Explosion, taking on the Vulture, Spike Trevay.
Yeah, this sort of seemed like one of those matches that seemed like a bit of a gimme. Like they're so completely opposed characters and both really good wrestlers that it just seems like one of those matches that you stumble on and go, sort of like Kanji versus Michael Oku on the last show. Like, how has this not been booked before? It just seems like an obvious pairing of two wrestlers, and I'm just glad like it hasn't happened before, and I'm really pleased that I can put that on. There's I know Cassius has put out a video well through Head Drop already to build up the match, and I've got one to put out from Spike probably in the next day or so, maybe out when this video goes out already. Yeah, I just they're two very big characters, two people obviously like I think the world of are both like I think they're both great wrestlers. Spike's doing amazingly at the moment in Progress.
Yeah,
It's like a long running Progress champion there. Cassius has just started to come back slightly more. He was out for a little while with injuries, but now he's quite regular for Hustle, and I believe is appearing at Fist Club as well over the Wrestival weekend. So it's great to see him
Yeah.
back and doing more shows as well. So I'm really glad that I've been able to put this on and for it to be the first time that they've wrestled each other, because I just think, yeah, like I said, it's two characters like wildly opposed, and like with both of them, I feel like they walk through the curtain, and anyone, whether you're a hardcore wrestling fan or you've never seen wrestling before, you're gonna know what their character is and know if you like them or if you hate them.
Yeah.
So I think that should make for a great match.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Again, we go back to it, but the clash of styles and the clash of characters, uh, such an interesting dynamic as well. And as you say, like it's amazing that these two never actually fought before as well. Like it's just something that it's gonna be amazing to see for the first time. And for myself, particularly, I'm gonna be there live as well, so it'd be interesting to see that just in person. Never mind how it'll appear on YouTube or how it'll appear on a VOD or something. Like it just. I think live wrestling is very different from seeing it on a TV or seeing it on a monitor or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm sure some of these matches will end up online at some point, but yeah, like my shows are very much it's a live experience, so we don't really focus on the like the video side of things so much. So yeah, like the best way to come and experience this is to come and see it in person. Like I said before, the Pleasance is an amazing venue. It's a very different setup to any other wrestling venue that I've seen before, in
Mm-hmm.
that it's sort of like cabaret style table seating. It's a really interesting layout. It looks great.
Yeah.
Um, just the aesthetic of it's really nice. You can also get drinks and yard sale pizza delivered to your table, which is very good. It's one of the few places or few wrestling venues I've seen where you can get pizza ordered to where you're sitting, which is great as well.
Yeah.
And yard sale pizza is delicious, so I thoroughly recommend that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of it's probably the one of the very good you can get even just food in general at the in your seating, because I know there's a lot of
Oh yeah,
shows
and
that don't let that happen.
yeah, especially considering that like a lot of wrestling shows start at about, or you'd have to travel to them at dinner time. Then yeah, it's good that this venue at least has food options for you. Yeah, food and drink options. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. um, but what should be an amazing show? Head on down to the Pleasance Theatre. See this show among six others that all vary in different ways between the live wrestling aspect and the theatre aspect and the cabaret aspect of wrestling, and again I keep saying like arts and theatre as well. Um, so this show is on the Friday the 14th. It follows on from Everything Patterned, which is on the same day.
Yeah.
On the Thursday, the day prior, there is the Wrestling with History show, along with the my brain's gonna forget that one, isn't it? What is it?
You've got the Resurgence Music Hall
Thank you.
Unruly Music which is I believe the second show on Thursday.
Yes, thank you. And then obviously the final day, I think, anyways, it's a 3 day event. Yeah, the final day, the Saturday, we have the Crypto Chaos by Sasquatch. We have Galzilla, and then we also have uh, the Fist Club Birthday Bash event as well. So you see all these stars that you'll see on, your promotions like Progress or your Rev Pros or whatever. Uh, you'll pay your prices like your 30, 40 quid, whatever your tickets. Come on the Pleasance, you can see them for like 14 quid.
Yeah, and the if you buy tickets to this to multiple different shows, so if you get a ticket to Head Drop and say Everything Patterned as well, or any of the other shows, you'll get a discount for buying tickets to two different shows, and I believe you get a bigger discount the more different shows you buy tickets to. So it really works out as a good value deal, especially if you want to go to more than one show.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Um, but yeah, that brings an end to this indie show preview. Thank you, Rob, for joining me to discuss this show.
No worries. Thanks for having me, and hopefully see you and lots of you out there on April 14th.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, but yeah, as I said, for this show in particular, Friday 14th, 9 p.m., Pleasance Theatre, uh, in Islington, London. Get down there, see some quality wrestling. No guarantee it'll all be on the YouTube anyway, so like seeing it live will be the best chance you have of seeing it all. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
that brings an end to this. I've been Dan, DP. This has been Rob from Head Drop, and this has been a show preview. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks a lot.